So we're joined by Dr. Yemi Akinbamijo, the Executive Director from Forum for Agricultural Research in Africa. You're based in Ghana.
That's correct.
Thank you for joining us, Doc.
Yeah, thank you.
So first and foremost, I need to find out from you, how is your organization promoting South-to-South cooperation?
Good. Well, thank you very much for this opportunity to be able to address the role of FARA in the context of South-South collaboration. This is very heavy and this is big for FARA, simply because we recognize that there is a lot of untapped advantages and benefits from the global South. And if you look at the countries that actually constitute the global South, the largest population and component of this geography, they are within the tropics. And that makes it even a lot easier for us to have exchange of technologies and for us to be able to even have peer-to-peer exchanges that can lead to mutual benefits across the global South. Now, what is FARA doing? Recognizing this very strong potential with which countries in the global South can handhold each other and advance their agriculture, FARA set up in the course of the last 12 months an initiative called HELP. That's H-E-L-P, Holistic Empowerment for Livelihoods Program. Now this initiative is geared towards building first the Africa's capacity to deploy science. The continent remains, in my estimation, the most science deficient continent in the world. And the reason is not far-fetched. And you understand it very clearly that without science, you cannot have development. There's no two ways about it.
That's a great point to make.
Yeah. So, knowing that science therefore becomes extremely important and crucial for our own emancipation as a continent, FARA developed the Science Agenda for Agriculture in Africa that is supposed to galvanize African countries towards assimilating science in the production system. Now, fancy this. In 2021, that in many countries, we still plant grains instead of seeds. In many countries, we still use the handheld hoe to till the ground. Is that how we want to feed the 2 billion we're expecting by 2050? 2050 is even too far. At the current level of science on the continent, we risk not meeting the SDG numbers 1 and 2 by 2030. We risk not meeting the goals of STISA by 2024. We risk not meeting Agenda 2063. We risk a lot of things.
Are governments receptive of science to meet these goals?
Certainly, to some extent, I would say yes, because they know it that science. Listen, there is no country, and I repeat, no country that has broken the food security barrier that has not embraced science. Let me take my favorite crop of tomatoes. And I've studied tomatoes across different geographies, across different economic status. When you look at the Netherlands at the moment is able to produce 800 metric tons per hectare at the research station in Blijswijk. That's the research station for horticulture from my university, and I've seen it. 800 metric tons per hectare. The farmers on their own are producing 600 metric tons per hectare. Now, undercover agriculture, but 600 tons is 600 metric tons. Cuba, over 5 years, moved from 100 metric tons to 120 metric tons. I have also seen it in Havana. But come back to home sweet home. The highest, the average is less than 10. The highest is about 15 to 20 metric tons, which means that we are grappling with what is called the yield gap. I mean, if you compare with Cuba, a yield gap of 100 metric tons. If you compare with the Netherlands, a yield gap of 700 metric tons. And when you look at these production systems that are making all of this, the only difference is the ability to deploy science, to deploy biotechnology, and that is the bane of Africa's agricultural system. Now, the bottom line is that we have outsourced Africa's agriculture for too long.
I see.
So it's time to bring that back home and take it both hands. There are a lot of policies, a lot of statements, a lot of head of state's declaration, but we have enough, and we should let it lie. The thing we should do is ask ourselves, what do these declarations mean to the man on the streets? What does it mean for the man in the village? It doesn't trickle down to them because we still lack the wherewithal to deploy science and deploy the necessities to be able to raise productivity. So that's where we are.
For other organizations that are not here,
yeah,
what do you have to say to them, and what will they get out of the Brazil-Africa Forum?
A lot. Because, as I said earlier on, I am now in the 4th edition of the Brazil-Africa Forum. And from the first one in Foz do Iguaçu 4 years ago, I mean, it was very impressive for me, and I said to myself, when this meeting closes, what do I take home? Okay, we had nice barbecues, nice T-bone steak and all of that, but that remains here in Brazil. What does that mean for Africa? That for me is crucial. I cannot go home and say, oh, there was nice music, samba and all of that. No. But then what I did was I immediately caught up with my Minister of Agriculture. I'm Nigerian, by the way, and I said, Honorable Minister, I need you to do something when you make your speech this morning, to tell the Africans here that we cannot wait for Africa-Brazil Forum to wait another 10 years until they shift to the discussion on agriculture before we can move. Because Brazil-Africa Forum they can choose technology, they can choose engineering, they can choose medicine as the theme for next year. We don't have to wait until one nice year when Brazil-Africa Forum comes back to agriculture. This is an eye-opener. So let's take it and run with it. And I actually suggested that let's have an Africa-Brazil Forum in Africa and use that to stimulate homegrown investments, homegrown partnerships, reaching out to Brazil and tapping into the potential that Brazil is. I mean, as I said, only 12 million people are driving the agriculture of this continent, of this country, of 200 million. And it is a net exporting country. I mean, chances are that if you buy a piece of chicken leg in West Africa, it's coming from Brazil or it's coming from the north. So how is it that this is possible from Brazil, that was 20 years, 30 years ago a net importer, and they've changed and rewritten their history? Why is that impossible for Africa?
Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you too for asking me to be here.
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate
Hopefully
it.
you'll come next time. Next
Certainly.
year as well.
It's a great forum and I love it. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.